Yeah. So that's all I can account for is myself, and that's it. I don't worry about what other people are doing or not doing. This isn't gonna be a yelling and shouting and what we gunners, because I've dealt with the we gunners since May 8th, 2002, and I'm done with the we gunners. Just do what little you can, you know. And people are like, well, can I send fruit? And like, you can't send fruit to the mail. You can't do that. You can't do that. But what you can do is just, you know, in terms of commissary. So let me it was sent to me through Facebook, so I had to go through Facebook to get it out. Like I said, I'll post it later on so that people will just get it. My thing is I don't believe in just telling people what you think someone wants to hear, because that's religion, truthfully.
Right.
And I've never dealt with that. I think that's you're selling people short. If we're trying to make a transcendence and we're sitting around saying, well, I don't think you should say this, I don't think you should say that. I've already been told you should take that down. I'm like, why should you take down something that's truthful? You know, and that was my response. If this is about him and what we can do to help him, then why not just say what needs to be said? Because this is stuff that, the thing is, each time a person heard, oh, he's doing fine, he's doing this, he's doing that, it's like, that really wasn't the case, you know. And I said it several times before, but I think that people don't really want to believe that it was that bad. So I think that each time it was said, it became downplayed, and I think that that's when it became a detriment. When you know, it's like if you're trying to get a person out of prison, any way you can do it, but you're getting misinformation, then, you know, how can it really help? You know, that's the thing. And again, whatever anyone else has done, I can't account for. All I can do is do what I can do. So if anyone is on here already, I think only 2 people, but I'm going to repeat this several times.
Okay.
The information for his commissary is Federal Bureau of Prisons. And the next information is you put his name, which is going to be Dwight York, and you put the inmate's number. I don't have his number, so I'm not sure if anyone else has gotten his information or gotten any mail from him before. They can get the number from him. I can't put the number out like that. I can't do that. That's something I can't do. But I can at least give you his name. And his post office box is, you can put P.O. Box 474701, Des Moines, Ohio 50947/0001. And the thing is that, just to give, like I said, more of an update, the thing is that he's always refused the food. He's always refused the prison food. And the thing is that he's gotten by on, like, snack food for a long time. He's, like, pretty much gotten by on that. Like, he's refused it, you know. And Pops is a very stubborn individual. He's going to do what he wants to do, regardless of whether you say, I think you should eat that because you don't want to hurt yourself by not eating anything. He's going to be like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I ain't eating that shit. You know, that's Pops. But, you know, if anybody, like, well, I'm not eating that prison food. And the people have to understand something. When you're doing that what she's been doing by refusing the food and only eating this food or eating junk food, it takes a toll on your body. And the thing is that you have to think, I don't know what was going on in terms of commissary, because I kept hearing that his commissary is full, don't worry about that. But if his commissary is full, he wouldn't have to eat junk food. That's the whole purpose of having money on your books, is that it takes care of you when you don't want what the prison's providing for you. So I talked to a family member of mine, and they asked the same question: why is he not we thought, the whole question was, we thought that the commissary was full, and either it's full and he's not using it, or it's full and he's not getting access. Something's going on that is not allowing him to get the nourishment that he needs, because the last person that went to go see him is that his health in terms of body, shape, his body has broken down to where most of the time he's in a wheelchair. He can't walk as much. Part of it also is the shackles that's on his legs. Remember, he walks in shackles all the time. He doesn't walk like a regular person. You remember, he's in Florence. So the degree of status of a criminal that they have him under is like extreme status. So when he does anything, he walks around shackled. I'm trying to give people a mental picture, because I really think that people thought he was in there just chilling. And I'm like, he's in Florence, Colorado at max. He's not chilling. He's in a cell that's about the size of a bathroom. Literally, the cell is very small. And he's been in that cell since, his conviction of 2004. That's reality. So I just want to get people into a mindset that you can't just chant and pray the situation better. You have to do some type of physical work. I don't understand how did we get to the point where that's all we feel we can do, or that's all we feel we need to do. That is spookism. Because if you're sitting around just thinking all we got to do is do this, that's all we got to do is do that. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's not good. Because that's religious. To think that, you just pray on it, he gonna get better and love and unity. No, you need to do things, because in order for things to get better, it's not just about saying we need to come together and have love and unity, because now that's becoming cliche to say. You need to actually do things that's going to help him. If you can't help him with the case right now, then at least do another thing. That's the whole point, because right now people are under this impression that everything is okay, and it's not okay. And that's the thing. I've always tried to get into the mindset of the people and see, why are we thinking one way? And now I'm kind of realizing why people are like just haven't really been moving. And it's not to be critical of people, because I understand everyone has their own life. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I just wondered, like, okay, wow, man, if this is a situation that's dire, why aren't people moving? Because for a lot of situations, I don't know, it's because things have changed over the years in the organization, the Wappian organization, where at one point you were getting clear, concise information, and then a lot of times now it's been kind of like, not just now, but other situations where people have just said things to people that they felt people needed to hear again. And that was a detriment to him, because he's also the kind of person, just to give you an idea of the kind of person he is, even if you're worrying about his health, he's going to say, forget my health. That's how my father is. This is me just me being honest with you, okay? Every class that I'm going to be doing is not just going to be about knowledge every time. This is serious right here, because this involves the person that's responsible for me being here. So I think that people really did believe the story of, I'm not sure how long people that are on here have been Wappian, but it was a story that came out back in 2007 that, because, his cell is glass. Like, he has to see people through a glass cell. And when he went for visitation back in 2007, he had a peppermint in his commissary, and he was able to manipulate his molecular structure and put his hand through the glass and give the peppermint. And I said, why would anyone ever believe something like that? And my thing is, why would someone ever say anything like that? Did you really think that whoever you're dealing with has to not be very smart? I don't want to say the word slow, but that's just kind of sad that people really believe that. And I didn't know what was going on, because I'm out here. I haven't seen my father since May 8th, 2002. So this situation right now, again, is very dire. My thing is, for one thing, I realized with us as a people, black people and specifically, we don't live on sense of urgencies very well. The moment it says, yo, someone has to say this is serious, sense of urgency in order for us to move. Because for the most part, we don't move very fast. So this is reality. This is a sense of urgency. Again, this is how it is, for him right now. And again, matter of fact, someone just inboxed me and told me that, yeah, I can give you the inmate number, so let me look for it. So if anyone has any questions about him right now while I go look for that, they feel free to ask right now. Peace, brother.
Yeah, this is Brother Powell from Indianapolis.
Okay.
What I was going to say, my background is putting commissary on people's books. That's my job. And the way it works is this. I do it all over the country from New York to California. And you're supposed to be able to call the commissary department of whatever jail they're in. And when you speak to the commissary department, what they'll do is they'll do two things. You ask them for the booking number or the inmate number, or sometimes it's called a jacket number. You call the commissary, and then the commissary is responsible for letting you know how much money they can put on the books. And generally, each inmate is allowed $200 per 7 days. That's generally how it works. And you can either put it online, or you can either call the jail. And what they'll do is you can either do a money order or see if you can send a Western Union. Now, dealing with who your pops and who your pops is, it's always up. We always say this: the money is on the account within 10 to 15 minutes after you place it, but it's always up to the jail to decide on when they want to release the funds. So what that means is that generally you kind of have to stay on the jail and whoever the commissary person is to make sure that each inmate is getting their because see, there's a difference between getting commissary and getting their telephone. So sometimes you might have to use JPay, or you might have to use another service for their telephone, and then you use they used to have like My Smart Care Pack. That was one of them, but that just got canceled. So people were able to put like a $20 care package together. It's called My Care Pack, and then the people would do it that way. So that's my field. So it's actually a blessing. So I'm just trying to give you some avenues on how we can navigate to aid and assist, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, because someone sent me a response. One of my sisters sent me a response on how to do the commissary, and it's actually changed because what she sent me was something that you go online, you pay either MoneyGram or Western Union, and that's changed. The only way to do it now is through money orders on over the through P.O. Box. That's the only way to do it with. So, this is like what I sent earlier, the address and everything. That's the only way to send it. They don't do it online no more. With him, they don't do it online no more. They only take it. They're only taking money orders through the mail, and that's it.
Okay.
That's the only way to do it. So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Then I was going to say the next thing we always recommend that you either do it through the post office or do something to where you can get like that registered mail or that money order. Now, this is my job, so I do this full-time every day, 5 days a week, and sometimes on the weekends. So I'm not just fluff and puff and just telling you something and expecting you to believe it. I mean, this is what I've been trained in. Okay.
No, I'm not saying – I never said that.
Yeah.
Just
I'm just – So second thing I wanted to say, I feel your pain and I apologize, but it's a lot of people going online because my partner, we had to end up shutting our store down. Now, we wasn't affiliated with any other Nuwaubian bookstores, but we knew some of the brothers in Chi-Town on Ridgeland Avenue and some of the other places. But we started our own Dr. Yo bookstore, and we wasn't affiliated with nobody. And, that's how I got acquainted with the books. But I'm saying that to say that, a lot of the times I'm not going to say anybody's name over the phone, but you got a lot of these other people that call themselves Nuwaubians, and they got DVDs and YouTube videos out saying that Pops never was locked up, and they were saying that it was all a magic trick. and they were saying that he meant to set everything up like that on after he dropped that Black Devil scroll. You know what I'm saying? And they were saying that it was a magic. Yeah, so they were saying that he really wasn't locked up, and that Doc ain't locked up, but we locked up. And so we met a lot of them brothers, and they really did try to sabotage a lot of the things that we was doing, because we had to break away from a lot of the other Nubian groups, because they was, still in the holy tablets. You know, we order books from brothers out of New York, $1,000 a piece. They would never send the books. You know, some of the brothers you see now, some of these popular YouTube stations, you know what I mean? We dealt with them, and sometimes it was cordial, but most of the time it wasn't. You know, and a lot of the brothers were just running their mouth. You know, talking about Pops taught them and blah, blah, blah. They writing books. They got $20 books they charging $35 and $40 for. We pay their brothers for a lecture. They show up 4 hours late, 6, 7, 8 hours late. You know what I'm saying? So we've been through it, man. So we understand the struggle. But I'm going to give somebody else enough time to speak, and I'm going to yield the floor. But you speak with that commissary department, that should help. But it's good that you here, because you got a lot of myths and a lot of these Free Dr. York Facebook pages, and they're not even with your pops, so we don't really know what they're doing. These other Nubian groups down south, they're doing their thing. So I think it would kind of help if you could kind of clarify, you know, between who is Pa Rock and them books, you know, and then can we trust these other Nubian? You know, they got them Nubian classes or Nuwapu Fat class. So if you could just kind of come and say, hey man, I am affiliated with these brothers ain't that, because a lot of dudes that I know, they really contributing to that stuff, thinking it's your pops and them other Nubian groups. And with that, I say peace.
Okay. Well, before I even move forward, let me give his number. This is his inmate number. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 17911/054. Most people already have it if they have already sent him mail before, so I just wanted to give that out again anyway. One more time, it's 17911/054, and then when you write him, do write Dwight York. And to what you said, yeah, I've heard that before. He's not really in jail. So my question, anytime I heard that, I was like, so where exactly is he? Well, he dropped it when the last book that he put out was the Black Devil. No, that wasn't the last book he put out. Last book he put out was not the Black Devil book. I know that for a fact. That was the second last book he put out. The very last book he put out actually was to set the record straight. That's why I'm trying to understand why people keep running. It's like anytime you hear something from Pops, I notice it always feels like it's folklore. It's never like a real statement. It's never like, cut and dry. And I noticed that. I'm not in the organization anymore. I'm just his son helping, doing whatever I can to help him. So but I'm able to see everything from more of a perspective of what's real and what's not. What's real to me is that someone is sincerely just trying to help them and not trying to contain information for power. That to me is bullshit. That's the first step of what I see as bullshit, because that's not helping him. Being dishonest has never helped anything at all. It just prolongs and makes the snowball of bullshit worse. And that's what I see. Now, NuwapianFacts.com, I think, actually was a pretty good site for a while, because it put a lot of information out there. I'm not sure who's even the admin of that anymore, because it was putting some real information out there for a long time. There actually is a group online that picked up the United Nuwapian Nation of Moors. They picked that school up, and they basically became like a separate organization, if you will, of that now. They're operating, and Pops isn't even authorizing that. I mean, but the thing is that my father never put his name on anything except for the AEO. He never trademarked any of the schools, meaning that it wasn't for example, while he's teaching it, anyone could have came out and said, I'm ATM in Idaho somewhere, because he never put a trademark to say, you can't bite my stuff. Whereas anyone, if he dropped the school, for example, you got the Ansars, anyone can come out right now and say, we're the Ansars of Sudan, the new Ansars of Sudan, and they could be somewhere in, in Florida somewhere, because he never, like, it's just like with any bookstore or any land, he never made himself the sole owner. The only thing that he's ever done that with was the ancient Egyptian order. That's the main reason why, and this is something I know from being around him, that's why he changed. He didn't use the Y, he put the I. That was his trademark. The pylon and the Ankh of AEO was his trademark. He did that purposely because there was like, there's so many different Egyptian Kemetic orders out there that he had to make it his own brand. You know, whatever, anyone that comes out to do AEO has to go through him or has to go through the person he put in charge. At the end of the day, that still is running through him because he's still controlling that situation. But there's a lot of people saying that that's retarded to say that he's not in prison because, again, people just say things without any proof behind it, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, why say these things? The reason why, I feel like I had to keep saying this, the reason why I'm not in the organization at this time is because I want to really branch out and try to work with other people who's not Nuwaubian that I feel like that can actually help his case. Because the thing is that this is just me speaking for myself. I don't speak for other people. When you're in an organization, and because I was in your organization, I kept facing resistance from people when I wanted to just work with someone else that wanted to help him, and it was always, okay, you can't work with them, you can't work with them, you can't work with them. I was like, okay, well, let me not be under this banner and just work to do whatever I can to help him from an outside source. Because my thing is this, I'm his son, so I'm not a following type of person. I'm gonna do what I feel is best. Even if he's like, well, I don't really want to do that, I'm like, well, let's cover that base so that we can say it doesn't work. Because he turned 71 in a month. So it's time to start thinking about, again, as I said earlier, a sense of urgency. We don't think with sense of urgencies anymore as a people. We just think, well, this person's going to do it. I heard this is going on, so let me just wait. We just need to do unity and love and chant and pray, not 393, 939. That's all that's going to happen, and that's not reality. That's religious. Because if I say, so what are you doing physically other than on your knees chanting? What are you doing physically? What are you doing that you can say, I did this for him? And most people can't really say anything. And I think that whole talk of he's not in prison really derailed, because I'm thinking to myself, where did you get that mindset to all of a sudden bust out to say he's not really in prison? Like, what made you say that out of your mouth? Because that doesn't make any sense, because that was hurting him. Because there's people that can vouch and say, yes, he's in prison. I can vouch and say, yes, he's in prison. Then you have people saying, well, the letters you got, I think somebody set up and wrote those. I said, no, they didn't. Because there's certain things that I got back in letters from him that only he and I would know about. No one else would know about what we talked about. It's things that he talked about I can't even talk about on this phone between me and him on a letter. So, yes, he's in prison. And that's the thing. I even went through a debate with someone, a sister, about that, and it was like, why are you even saying these things? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But you're confident that he's gonna materialize in front of you? Like, what exactly are you gaining by even thinking like that? You're not even thinking in reality, because part of Nuwaubu is about reality. If you study Nuwaubu as a science, it's an African science very similar to Vodun that teaches that it's about you. It's a spiritual science based on facts, on right knowledge, that teaches you to act on the ancestors that are working through you based on facts, not based on I'm just going to sit here and make these noises and it's going to pop up in front of me. And that's ridiculous. That's the point where I felt like, and I'm watching, my thing is, because I'm at this point, I can watch movements. Whereas when you're in a central point and you're under a banner, you can only move how they dictate. And I'm not knocking whoever's in the organization. That's beautiful. You do whatever the organization tells you to do, which is fine. But the thing is that if you want to, let's say, for example, if you want to work with H. Rap Brown, they could be like, no, H. Rap Brown is bad. Don't work with him, work with him. But what if this is an idea. What if they decided to mesh H. Rep Brown's case with my father's case, and that might help my father's case? You know, you don't know that. What if you decide to say, okay, you decide, because I have an idea of working with Ramona Africa from the MOVE organization. If you don't know who that is, please look them up, because her situation is very similar to our situation, or my situation specifically, because my father's in prison for 135 years. A lot of her MOVE organization people that's in prison are dying every single year from mysterious deaths by people in prison. So all these type of things, you're not really able to move. You have to ask permission, because when you do something under a banner, you represent the organization. If it flops, the organization looks bad. So part of me leaving was also to, out of respect for the organization, say, you know what, if I screw up, I don't want the organization's name to be tarnished. So let me, as a grown man, do this on my own. So if it sinks or swims, I can say, okay, sink and swim is on me, period. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I just do what I feel needs to be done, and that's all I can do. You know, again, does anyone have any questions? I can, again, repeat the information to write him in terms of commissary, and just because right now, if you write him at his regular, you know, U.S. Penitentiary, Max, P.O. Box 8500, Florence, Colorado, 81226, 8500. I'm sure everybody's got that. If you write him, they're going to send it right back. They're going to send it right back to you and say that, you know, that's can't do that. Now, there are some Nuwaubians that's actually able to see him. So me and a couple other my brothers and sisters are trying to do what we can to try to go see him, because both of us have not seen him in almost 14, 15 years. So we're trying to see him to at least get real information, to at least get back to people who care that this is what's really going on, so everything can be laid to rest. I don't have time to play around with people. I don't have time to hold information, and that's ridiculous. It's life's too short for that shit. Let's just keep it real with each other and keep it real with his condition, because I just turned 35. My father's been in prison since I was 22. It just turned just 21, really. 14 years, I haven't seen my father. So imagine how I feel, because imagine this was your mother, imagine this was your father. And I clearly understand that he's the master teacher. He's my master teacher too. But at the same time, part of me is missing. So that's why I'm going out and doing things that for some people might be dangerous. But for me, I'd rather go all out at the end of the day to say I did whatever I could, and if it did not work, then it didn't work, but I got to keep trying to see what else can work. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, can you give me that address one more time, please?
For the commissary?
Yes.
It's start off at Federal Bureau of Prisons. That's the first thing you put at the top, Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Mm-hmm.
And you put the inmate name, which is Dwight York.
Mm-hmm.
And you put the number, which is 17911-054. And it's P.O. Box 474-701, Des Moines, Iowa, 509-47/0001.
Thank you. And they only accept money order?
Only accept money orders.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, just get what you can. You ain't ask you for $500. Get what you can. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's whatever you can. This is about health. It's not about we need it. No, it's about health. You know,
mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Because my thing is, I was told that no, it's good. If it was, because at one point he was fined several years ago because that's how he was able to sustain himself, because he had fruit in his commissary. So obviously, whatever was there is not there if he's having to eat junk food. Like it's like from what's described to me that's going on right now is that he'll get a plate, he'll get the tray, but rather than eat what's like the food, he'll take the snack and he'll throw the tray away, and he'll just eat the snack, and that's what he's been doing for several years. And whatever people are telling other people, I don't know what's going on, because my thing is that stuff's ridiculous. All I could do is just, hey, like I said, is just give what I know. And I ain't messing with all the other stuff. I can just give what I know, and that's it. You know, I don't mess around with people who spend time playing misinformation games, because again, I was told to take what I said down. I'm like, I'm not taking it down. Why would I take down the truth? Well, the truth.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous. You know, people like that, man, it's like, for what? What are you gaining by lying? You know, he's not gaining anything, so I don't have time to play around. So, yeah. So what I'll do is later post it, and hopefully people, like I said, most people have his writing address. Like, people ask to this day, can we write him? Can we write him? And I said, you can try. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because it may get through for you, but I wrote him like 10 times recently, and they all was sent back to me. So I was like, wow, but you never know. But again, you have the information. Do what you can with that, you know, what's within your means. So, again, that's what the class today was about, was him. Yeah, situation. You know, all I can do is what I can, and that's the best I can do. That's it. You know, so I'll be shutting it down. It's a quick one this week, but I'll be shutting it down and do whatever else I can on my side. And I'll be getting with some people to see what we can do about seeing them within the next 2 months or so at least, and see what we can do. So I'll say, Wadu family, and peace and love.
Right. Hey, brother Ali.
I'm still here.
Okay. Have you tried to get in contact with brothers like Sadnetta, any of those brothers, or are they just not doing one thing and then saying something else?
Well, when I went up to New York back in February for a lecture, and I tried to contact, because Sadnetta called me 5 times one time, and when I called them back, I didn't get an answer. This is when I was still here in Houston. So when I went up to New York to call him, like, each day, I contacted him. He never answered. Like, even me and my mate, we went outside of Harlem, where he's at on 125th, across from Apollo. He wasn't even outside. The way King Simon told me, where it was like it was so cold, he just left. And I was like, wow. So I tried, you know. I can only say, well, he called me. I called him. It was like a phone tag situation after a while. But after that, it was like no response. Like because initially, when I went up to New York in February, it was really just for that reason. It was to go up, and I was going to go to a concert, but it was to connect with Sadnetta about getting on the couch to talk about my father's case, because I kept reading people say things on YouTube, and it was like, these people don't know what they're talking about. You know, it's like a lot of these people who are talking, calling him a pedophile, calling him this, calling him that, have never even read the case, don't know what was going on, don't know what happened in the case, to just start coming off at the mouth and let me say what I need to say. Because I didn't want to, but, you know, it became a lecture thing, so I did it, but I never got a chance to be on the couch, because my point was to be on the couch speaking about him, but it never happened. So not saying it could never happen in the future, but at that point it never did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, too, a lot of the brothers are, you know, just rooting for your pops, man. I'm not going to hold you long, but I just appreciate giving that information, man, because that speaks volumes. Because I know I got some of the books, because like I said, because we used to have a store, whatever the case may be, so I'm familiar with a lot of the books. And it was just hard to get people conscious. I mean, you're talking Indianapolis, Indiana, so we're Midwest, but we're a very conservative state. So a lot of times, man, a lot of the people, we were in a decent area in a mixed neighborhood. We would get more Europeans to come in and buy the books than our own people, and they would ask, "Are y'all the Illuminati? What is this story y'all got? Is this devil worship?" And the guys would be scared to even walk through the door. So we dealt with that aspect. But then once the sisters were able to get over the fear, then they were able to, kind of digest some of the crumbs that your pops had. So I just think it's good that you still going out there, and I just want to encourage you to continue to keep that going. I know, but some of the other stuff is that I've read is his name really isn't the White. His real name is really Imam Isa, and the White is his son's name. And Jacob was the one that basically set everything up because he was jealous of his father. And he had married his second mother, and that's at the time when he was in the school of Islam, and he divorced her at the time when she had brain cancer. And that's why Jacob York did all of this, and that's why he named him Yaqub. I mean, these are the type of rap sessions we would have in the store, and brothers would talk about how they was down on the land, and they'd see all the magic stuff by Doc, and Doc would go, and this little Martian or something was on the land, and they would see Doc go behind the mirror, and he'd come back and be 6 feet tall, then 1 minute he'd be 5'9". They have all these fantastic stories, and I'm just sitting there looking at these brothers like, man, you know what I mean? Just listening. And they, like you said, brothers be caught in the fantastic. So you got a lot of brothers, man, that are saying they was with Doc and they was on the land. They just start preaching and teaching, and then brothers use them as an authority. But nobody has ever actually really been able to get in contact like what you're doing and giving out true information. So I'm going to mute my phone, but I just wanted to get at. And then, brothers are arguing over the Pod to Rock books.
Pop's question about that. I forgot. Let me do. I'm glad you did, because I forgot. I tried to cover everything you asked previously, but let me at least expound on what I know about that and whatever I can give you from what I know. After a certain amount of time, while he was on the land, he's like, if you know who Cheikh Anta Diop is in terms of a writer, African writer, he's more. Cheikh Anta Diop is famous for writing the information and doing the research to scientifically prove that the ancient Egyptians or those of Kemet were black. Like it wasn't just like what the wall said. It gave scientific evidence to prove this. And the thing is that I'm giving him as an example. I'm leading into something. He wrote at least 30 books that he never put out. Like there's a truckload of books that he never put out. He's considered to be like the most prolific writer. He hasn't even written that many books as much as my father has, but he's considered to be the most prolific writer on ancient Kemet. Now, that's 30 books compared to the amount of books my father wrote that never came out. Now, there's a lot of Patarak that when they first came out, these were a lot of information. This was a lot of information that was like transcript information that he hadn't put out. So he gave permission to, put that information out. And then there's some information that he was able to write through letters, and they would have to piece those letters together to make books. Then you had, like, the first part of Patarak was all him. Like when they first came out, I remember like 2008 to 2009, 10, around that time, that was like the first part of them. That was him. All him. Now you had a good amount of them that came out where after a while, just like before, where some of them, as I said before, had to be stretched, meaning that they wasn't as pure as they once was before, meaning that you might have a piece of information that he had that wasn't finished, because there were some books that he wrote that wasn't finished. And then, some of the sisters had to add some information in order to complete that actual fact scroll. Same thing with some Patarak. Now you have a certain group of people that a lot of them now are being written, but it's not from him. I know that for a fact because 2 years ago when I went to the ball 2014, they were introducing certain people from the organization that was going to write books, but it wasn't him. They were going to come out with information. They were going to have their face, their name, and all sorts of stuff. And I don't know when that's coming out. I'm not sure if that's already coming out and it just still has his face on it. I don't know. But that I know because I was standing there on the stage when that was being announced. And there's a lot of people that can lay claim to that evidence that actually happened. Now, in terms of like a good example of information that wasn't written by him was the Wu Nuwapu lessons. I'm sure you were around when that was put out back in 2000, I think 4 or 5. That was written by Bastet, people know it Nifu Amenhotep, okay? That wasn't written by Pops. That was her information. She put that out. But she was very good at retaining information, like remembering information. So she was able to put information together from what she remembered and what she read. So if you read it, thing is what a lot of people have to learn to do is that disdain from or learn how different they like put his information that you knew that he wrote and kind of like compare it, and you can tell there's somewhat of a difference. And this is not to like say these are not valid, don't read. I'm not saying that, but just to clear up, this is a reality of after a while what happened, because if he's still writing information, what happens is that violates the RICO Act. And then that ends up being a punishment against him. And if that's a punishment against him, what happens is he gets physically abused while in prison. So we have to be very careful when we say, yeah, he's still writing. It's like, no, the best answer to give truthfully is to say a lot of this information that you see right now was very similar to Sheikh Anta Diop, was transcript information that he had never put out, like as a book. Like, for example, the actual fact that was the Nawapian Ontologist of Time scroll that's very similar to Nine Ball, that's him. Because he was one of the people who the main person who brought the spiritual science of Nuwapu here. He's a renewal. He never said he created it. He was the person who was the renewer of that information. As he said in a letter, that's why that whole debate group, the Nun Bus or whatever the hell they call themselves, they were saying, well, see, I got this letter that says he didn't write Nambal. You're right. What he said was he was one of the students of a specific spiritual teacher that gave certain people information and they end up becoming masters. So he was able to bring forth that information, Nambal, under the name Amanubada Akata in D.C. Pop said this himself, that he wrote that information in D.C. And he, after a while, had to say, I didn't write that information because he wanted people to gather around certain actual facts that, you know, he had already written previously. All Nawapian Ontologists of Time was basically a revision of what Nine Ball was. Because if you read Ontologists of Time, it's very similar to Nine Ball. Very much, some things, of course, is updated, but it's very similar and it reads very much the same. That's why a lot of people, I notice, they stay away from that one because that one is extremely scientific. It's not an easy read. You have to be able to do whatever you can to master the circle of time, to master non-ether and six ether and ghost ether. It takes a while to be able to do that. A lot of people like to be spoon-fed, whereas that information is not spoon-fed. That's straight steak, you know. So hopefully that answers whatever questions was asked about that, you know. That's the best I can do.
Okay. Then another one I had, everybody was saying that since Pops was locked up, everybody.
I can't hear you. Kind of low right now.
Yeah. Okay. Can
Sorry,
you hear me
a
now?
little better.
Okay. The guy that goes by the name of he's at the Church of the Black Messiah, Hotep. I'm trying to think of his name.
Oh, Haru Hotep.
Yeah, Haru Hotep.
Yeah, AJ Varma, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody was like, my partner was telling me that Pop said don't trust him because when he got locked up, he's supposed to run off with like a whole bunch of holy tablets. So I was, and he wrote his own mind book, and he got his Church of the Black Messiah in Canada. I was wondering if you could kind of speak on the Haru Hotep guy, because I got one of his books. And then if you could just, because I'm a new brother to the Nuwapian movement.
like I've been knowing of Pop since 2000, but I really didn't start maybe studying them maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But if you could kind of break that down about Hotep, and then break down the purpose of the holy tablets, like was it supposed to be like a renewed version of every 25,000 years, and the language, because the language books have been changed too. So a lot of people went to the store trying to get the language books. It's like, well, you can't go with that language book, man, because they ain't the one that doctored it out. They didn't change that. Well, and then you had the debate on whether or not if they was going to teach out of the Ponson Rock book or they was going to teach the old information. So then that was a split on that, right? So if you could touch on again Hotep, if you could touch on the purpose of the holy tablets, why those came out, how those relevant to the Quran, the Bible, and the Bhagavad Gita, whatever they spiritual volumes of sacred law, and then if you could touch on, you know what I'm saying, like, I guess, just with, how do we move forward with the information? With that, I yield. Peace. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the A.J. Varma, is Heart of Hotep. I know him as Heart of Hotep. He's a great teacher, actually. I didn't know Pop said don't talk to him or anything like that. He's a great teacher. He wrote a lot of people bought books from him, and they can stand the test to say he wrote great books. I didn't know he wrote his own mind book. But that's his business to write his own mind book. Who's to say what a person can't write? He was taught from someone, so of course what he would write would be a reflection of who he was taught by. I know he has like the Church of Black Messiah, something like that, the Journey Home group. And yeah, that's good. I think that's a good thing. I don't think he's taking anything off of my father's plate at all. Pops is people have always done things like that. People have always left and created what they wanted to do. He has nothing against him. You have Neb Heru does the same thing, and I've known him from the Lodge back in 2002. So people respect and love Neb Heru. I would never say don't listen to talk to. No, if a person that you're reading, like Polite, people like Polite a lot. There's some people that are like, yo, this nigga taking money, but there's a good amount of people who are like, yo, he's a reflection of your father, and I'm okay, cool, that's fine. I'm not the one to tell people what not to do. Now, in terms of the information that came out, which one should we go with? Whatever Pops is saying, roll with that, because there's a reason why he's saying to do that. I would never say don't read it, but I'm just giving you the inside information of why things may seem the way they seem. But yes, roll with that. That's the thing. If he's saying read that information, he's telling you that for a reason. Of course, you had not just A.J. Varma, you had a good friend of mine, Bun, that had his own, he was teaching and everything, which he has a right to teach. People have a right to teach. They weren't hurting him at all. I don't know what my father may have said about him, but from my understanding, he had no problems with them. Usually what I heard when people would say that is usually from people who had a problem with them themselves, but they never really just said it themselves. They just would say, well, Baba said. And when you find out, like Pops never says, I never said that. I don't think because, again, him and Heart of Hotep were very close. He was at the time creating the Journey Home group, or he had his own following before he left Macon. When we were based in Macon, he was creating his own group then. And my father had nothing, he had nothing against him at all. He never spoke against it. You had people on the land who spoke against it, but it was none of their business anyway to say anything against it. If my father had nothing to do or had nothing to say about it, why is it your business to say something? Why do you care? If he has his group, and some of his group are people who were ex-Nuwapian and followed him, that's what they choose to do. My father never, said, damn them and damn. No. He's like, that's fine. Just understand that if my father was never locked up, he probably wouldn't have as many members he has right now. But he did have a lot of members that he was gaining a good following while he was in Macon, Georgia. So that's him. I wish him all the best. truthfully, this is me speaking from the heart. I wish him all the best. I see that he's very successful. He's happy in what he's doing. My father's never said anything against him at all. So again, for him to write, let's say he writes his own black book, that's his business. He's written, he's been able to write as much. All the information he's able to write is an accomplishment, and he learned from a man who wrote a lot of information. So it's gonna come natural to him. So I don't think it was bad at all. And again, there's no such thing as like old information unless you read Ansar information, and that's something different. But I still go back and forth from AO information to, science of healing to certain actual facts, because you have to be able to piece the information together. He said this himself, is that you have to look at the information as a puzzle that you have to put together. The whole puzzle is not in one book. The book is a piece. But when you try to make the piece into the whole puzzle, you're gonna keep bumping into yourself. And that's the thing. You have to be able to, if you came into this and your first book might have been like, let's set the record straight, that's historical accounts of what happened that correlates and revolves around the Moors. And some people's first book might be Black Devils. Some people's book might be The Pale Man from 1990. But it's a bridge. All this information is bridges to take you to another level, but you don't forget the bridge. You don't forget the first step that you made. That first step is still what you need in order to take yourself to the next level. All that stuff is needed. So some people will read all Patarak and don't read nothing else, which is kind of odd because there's other information. Because a lot of people that are just in Patarak, they're very religious. Like they see him as his apparition, as opposed to seeing him as an individual who's an avatar who received information. That makes more sense as opposed to just saying he's a master of something. No, he's a master teacher, but at the same time, he's a person who receives information because he opened himself up, which there were other avatars on the planet other than him, but a lot of them had died, and he's one of the last two left. Or he may be the last one. I think he's either the last one or the last two from what I've studied. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you, brother. I know I just had a few more questions. I know a lot of brothers, they have given me a lot of misinformation and couldn't really answer them. But one of the questions I had was some of the brothers were saying that Pops was like saying fuck Nuwapu because the niggas done lost their minds and he don't really want to have shit to do with Nuwabian. That was one thing. Brothers was telling me that, and that Pops ain't even on Nuwapu no more. Then if you could just kind of explain to me the purpose and of the Holy Tablets. I mean, you kind of said it with that. I wasn't around during that time, so you kind of break down, the Holy Tablets and, or does your answer still stand from the previous statement?
Well, I don't know what people are talking about fucking Nuwapu. That don't make any sense. That's what he came to give. In terms of Holy Tablets, Holy Tablet was a collection of ancient scriptures and ancient tablets that was put together in one book. It's almost like it was an intro to the Black Book. And the Black Book was literally 19 chapters. And we only was able to get one chapter, which is now out of print, but it was one chapter, book one. And then we had still in the first chapter, book two, which very few people have gotten and have even tried to read to understand. So the Holy Tablet literally was a bridge. I keep saying the word bridge. It was a bridge out of the religious schools. Because remember, when that book came out, it was a Holy Tabernacle Ministries. So that was the school that was bridging us away from Islam and then the Nubian nation and the Hebrew school that was still religious. So that was like the beginning of right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. But within it, you still had, for example, you had the disagreeableness chapter that broke down non-ether, six-ether, ghost-ether in the news and Nuwapu. That was in the disagreeableness tablet. But the tablets itself, the Holy Tablets itself, was really just it's still deep, you know what I'm saying? But it really was a beginning away from something else. But it was still a great, you know, because that's almost like his trademark book, other than 666. So it still was a great information. If you have it, I would still read it. I still read it, but Pops at some point is like, you know, leave it alone because it's old. Because he's right. Because basically he wanted people to just use it as a means to get to the new information. He wasn't able to finish a lot of the black books, but there's still some black books that were supposed to come out that hasn't been able to come out, and they probably will never come out unless he gives the permission to put it out. But the Holy Tablet, truthfully, to give you a final answer, was a bridge to the black book, because the black book was more powerful than the Holy Tablet ever was. But people will tend to argue that, which I have no reason to argue about that. But there was still supposed to be more parts to the black book that basically showed how minute the Holy Tablet was, but still, compared to a lot of other works, the Holy Tablet was still powerful. I would still say that as well. So that's the last question. I will shut down for this week. And Tawaf, everybody who was able to get on. Hotep Wa Shug, peace and love. Wadu.